You.
Yes, I am ready.
All right.
I have some notes from last week because of the whole thing, so I can say those first.
Yep.
And then on to this week if you guys would like.
Sure, that's fine.
Alright, so there was 100% participation in the Math MCAS last week. The internship and passion project end of the year presentations took place and they were all very well. The Spectrum Community Gala took place last Friday night. 6 communities were present with over 100 students and chaperones. The second annual Woburn Hall of Fame dinner took place on Saturday, and current WMHS staff were inducted to include Ms. Ivester, Ms. Locke, and Mr. Parziale. Over 300 people attended this event, which support grants for Woburn Public School teachers through WCEF and programming at WMHS. Thank you to Mrs. Comier for being at attendance. Standout students were recognized last Wednesday at the WMHS grades 9 to 12 award ceremony. Students were recognized for their hard work, dedication, and passion to academics. Each teacher nominated 1 student for all their classes, and the top 11 juniors were awarded the annual book award. 2 students were awarded $1,500 each as part of the J.S. Bloom Foundation programming, recognizing the top science student, which was Megan Quayle, and the top math student, which was Nan Patel. These 2 students were in junior class. Some other awards were Colin Curran got the Masc and Wolf Award, Nan Patel got the Rensselaer Medal, and Megan Quayle got the J.S. Lim Award. Amanda Lozier, Emily Rowland, Brianna Liu, and Charlotte Dorchek all got the SWE Award. In addition, students from Dr. Kritz's project led the way biome class were recognized by Mass STEM Hub. These students were Molly Mahoney, David Mully, and Jalen Cunneth. So now the other things from this week. So the first Friday night graduation was a huge success, which was nice because usually it's not on Fridays. Congratulations to graduates Emma Patrizi and Tyler Sullivan for being selected as this year's TID Award winners. Talon Minnesota and Josh Freeman were also selected this year's Peterson School Scholarship winners. Student Government Day took place last week and was a great success. This is the first year that the History Department took over the event and tied it in with the Civic Action Project for the junior class. It was all around a great event. And some upcoming events are on June 17th is the Great East Music Festival, which is all day. June 17th through June 23rd is underclass final exams, and on June 24th is the last day of school.
On that note, does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you for representing your fellow classmates this year. We look forward to seeing you in the fall, maybe in person.
Yeah, see you in September.
Next week, you'll probably figure it out.
Yeah, well, yeah, Jean will, Ms. McLeod will send you the calendar once we approve the meeting things, and we look forward to seeing you and getting updates throughout the fall and into the winter. Well, enjoy your summer, and thank you again.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Sophia. Bye. All right. We're going to go into executive session, and we'll let you talk when we come back. That way, more people might be here. Okay, so I don't have a motion to go into executive session for purposes of legal discussions.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Strategy and litigation.
Strategy and litigation. Thank you.
one.
So where were you camping?
I still am. I'm at Salisbury Beach as soon as we get out of here at 9:05.
9:05?
8:05.
Or, yeah, I was gonna say, hello?
I don't know.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the 5/25/22 school committee minutes.
Motion to approve.
I have a second. I have a second. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public comment. If you'd like to speak. Why don't we let the public go first, Mr. Viola, and then there's a servant of the public can go after them. Hi, welcome to the school committee. If you could just maybe state your name.
Sure. Hello.
Hi.
Good day, good people. I'm James Austin. First, I just want to say thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. Respect your respective places, and give a special thank you to Andrew Lipset. Last week, he spoke to my wife and I for nearly 2 hours. Just real humble and just didn't even check his phone or watch, and just really did life with us. So we really appreciate that. What I wanted to speak about, I've actually been a Woburn resident nearly 20 years, and it brings back a thought where my eldest daughter said to me, she said, "Daddy, what are you scared of?" And I said, nothing really. And I started thinking more, and I said, well, one thing that I am afraid of is harm being brought to my kids. And since we've been in Woburn for several years now, we've been dealing with different forms of discrimination since we got here. And this was mainly the conversation that Andrew Lipset and my wife and I, we had. And I just wanted to talk. I don't know what to say, how to say it. I just want to voice that I feel helpless, hopeless. And I know that the school, there's only but so much that the staff can do. And again, when you're hopeless and helpless, you really don't know what to say. So you just kind of like, as I'm doing fumbling, but what comes to my mind is I would love to see more of the community involved, parents, or something being established. But when I hear about the young people that I brought with me today tell me that they're dealing with young kids saying racist comments to them last week too, and it really just steers me up, and I really get it breaks my heart to know that we're still dealing with these things. And I'm not even afraid of sending my kids to school thinking about people with guns. I'm more concerned that the staff is being fair, or the peers being fair to each other. So I just want to bring that to attention and acknowledge that I can no longer wait for someone else to step up and speak. So that's why I'm here, to initiate conversation with whomever, and just hopefully my words will be heard, and to start making actions be my words. So again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. No, your words were heard. Just so you know, we don't, with public comment section, we don't have a dialogue. It's really a monologue from the participants, but I think the committee could take action during the meeting to further your comments and look at them further at the school system level. But we appreciate bringing it, because if we don't hear things, we can't act on them. So I think the first step is hearing that something's wrong. Now the next part is on us to see what actions we can take to make things better.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
The young people call me Uncle James, so I actually brought some young people, and I told them, I said it'll be great for them to voice.
Yeah, and if they want to come up,
If your nieces want to come forward.
if you want to come up and
You don't have to.
you don't,
Come on.
yeah, come on up.
Come on up, young people.
Yeah.
You're on TV.
If you're the uncle of the nieces, let's go.
You know,
Okay.
yeah, and if you want to say something,
Say your name.
or if you want to talk about, your reaction to what something happened, that adds more weight to the story.
Okay. So my name is Isabel Bernard Matthew. I'm in 9th grade. I go to Woburn Memorial High School. And for my experience at the high school, or like at all 3 schools in general, I went to Goodyear. I didn't experience anything up until 6th grade, when I had one of my teachers mispronounce a country. And I know when it comes to stuff like that, it's always an accident. But sometimes I feel as though some administration need to be better educated, especially when it comes to a subject that you are teaching. And I know this teacher did not mean it at all. But it was something very surprising to me, and it only got worse from there. I'm sorry. I'm just so nervous. I think I remember, like, and like 7th grade, 6th grade, there was this person in my class who was very known for saying the N-word and did not care if anyone like told him to stop or anything like that. And I think the reason mostly why it went so unpunished was because a lot of us are afraid to tell administration because we think they're not going to do anything. We think he's going to get a slap on the wrist and go on with his day and probably target us for reporting him, you know? And so I feel as though the people who think they can say it and all this stuff are people who are like well known or on sports teams, and they continue to be well known and be like lifted up to something they, you know, don't really 100% are genuine in. Like they could be a caring person to somebody else who happens to be like white and stuff like that. But when it comes to people who are people of color, when it comes to Hispanic individuals, to black individuals, they treat them worse or treat them to where they're supposed to act a certain way, and when they don't, they're critically like so negative to them. And especially now when I'm older, I'm 15, I should not be called the N-word with a hard R simply because I didn't like what somebody said about me or other people. So that's personally what I experienced and what I think about that whole thing.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and like I said before, it's up to us now that we've heard it to take some action and to make things better. And that's what we'll try to do. Anybody else have any comments, or here just for support?
Now's your time.
You did great.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Winmarsel Desir, and I go to Woburn Memorial High School. And some of the things I've noticed is that people will continue saying racial slurs to anybody they meet if somebody's like still laughing at them with their friends. Like if their friend says it's funny, they don't care who else thinks it's funny, they're gonna continue saying it. And like no action has been taken, because me personally, I've been called a racial slur by somebody of a different ethnic background, and I told my teacher and nothing happened to them. And I got targeted because they knew I snitched on them, and I got targeted for it, and they continued repeatedly to do it. And I didn't find that like funny, because as a 15-year-old, I just turned 15 in May, I should not be coming to school worried about being called the N-word or like other racial stuff because of my skin color. I don't find that fair. And also some staff, I know like some staff need to be educated, because my history teacher, some teachers, they will not bring like the actual stuff that's going around, like slavery. They'll skip past that chapter and like don't bring it up until like 2-3 days of Black History Month. And I feel like we should focus on that subject more, because some people don't really know the real history behind like slavery and African American culture, because everybody thinks Black people come from like one place, and that's not true. Like we're all over the world. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Anyone
Good
else?
job.
All right. Anyone else?
Words are said. Yeah, so adding on to that, not only is it like just by race with reporting and stuff like that, I think in general, when I shouldn't be having to explain a situation to my mom before deciding to, you know, go and report something to the administrators to see if they're going to actually do something about it. Because the situation has happened at the school just as recently as yesterday. And my mom had to tell me that she doesn't think that I should go to the school because they're not going to do anything about it. And I'm just going to get targeted because they're just going to tell the individual that it happened and probably just let them go with like a detention. And so I just want to know that I can come forward to a guidance counselor or an administrator and have something actually correctly be done. I just don't want to feel as though I'm unheard as a student that goes to the school. I feel like my opinion and my voice matters a lot to where it comes to discipline, because I feel as though individuals aren't getting enough discipline as they are supposed to get. I feel like they're getting free passes because teachers think they're nice or the good kid, when someone can be mean to anybody. And I can admit that myself. I've been mean to people, and I need to take responsibility for that. Everybody does. So that's my input on that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Again.
I'd like to add on to that.
Yep.
Something that I spoke with Mr. Lipset is Community for Restorative Justice. I don't know if that's the proper organization to connect with, but having the young people, just as she said, having them kind of stand up and kind of represent and kind of take ownership of if someone is being infringed upon their whatever, for them to, because I know the administrators can only do so much. And I don't know if that's something that can be brought to the school. I know other schools are doing it, and most people do by best practices, but some type of restorative justice inside the school for young people to whoever's saying something that's, whether it's derogatory to race or whatever, bring forth that person amongst their peers and maybe some leaders in the community or the school and kind of handle it that way, because sometimes being suspended is a vacation. Because when they go to their room, there's Xbox and PlayStation and cell phone, and there's really no punishment, but to be held accountable. I think a lot of young people aren't being held accountable, and I think that's the fear. If we want to see our young people become productive citizens, I think that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And maybe being held accountable by their peers amongst leaders can be something that I would love to oppose and possibly see, and if be a part of helping establish it. I'm here to do so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Say that as well.
Thank you. I think maybe the superintendent, did you want to?
Just really quickly, I smiled when you said restorative justice. And as Dr. Wells said, this ordinarily isn't a dialogue, but I'm reporting out that I had a meeting this afternoon with Mr. Martin, who's going to be the high school principal in the fall. And one of the things that he is adamant about is bringing restorative justice to the high school. And so
It's a very timely question.
your comments are incredibly timely. And I will tell you.
That I emailed him before coming here.
Oh, did you?
I was impressed by Mr. Lipset, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me get on the ball. And,
Yeah, so
and,
you can probably expect to be, to be,
Wow.
so, anyway, just, and to the students, you did a great job, so thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing, again, we only know what we know, and bringing it to us helps us to deal with situations in our schools, and so, thank you.
Thank you guys as well.
Have a great night.
Thank you. I think they deserve ice cream. Uncle?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Wow.
I think our representative from the city council wanted to speak a little tonight to us, so.
If you want to come after that.
Good evening, Chairperson, members of the school committee, Superintendent Crowley, Alcanada, Ms. Young. First, I want to say congratulations to the seniors who graduated this past Friday. It was the first Friday night graduation. My first graduation as a sitting city councilor. I thought it was a tremendous, great job that was done by all. I wish them all a lot of luck and well in their future endeavors. The second thing was Student Government Day. That was a huge success from all the students that I talked to, including myself and the other city councilors that were there interacting with them. We thought it went well. We look forward to doing it again next year. I'm pleased to announce that the City Council passed the city's budget last night with 0 cuts. So there'll be no cuts to the school committee's budget at all. I want to thank the school committee administration for all their hard work over the past few months. You guys did a good job putting the budget together, and I was pleased to vote in favor of it. And finally, the Middlesex Sheriff's Office is hosting their Youth Public Safety Academy in person this year. It's a great program that's put on for students. Registration is tomorrow at 8 a.m. Woburn will be scheduled for week 3, which is July 25th to July 29th. And to learn more about this great program, you can visit middlesexsheriff.org/YPSA. And I can't say enough about the program. They do a great job there, and it's a big learning experience for all the children that attend it.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to us at the meetings. And, and as I mentioned to you, I thought your question was insightful and right on point at the council meeting the other day. And thanks for being here. Any question? Well, we have the council representative, Mr. Morenin.
Thanks. Good evening. Thanks for coming. Camp this summer, you said it's going to be in person. Where is it at this summer? You said go work it.
I believe they're holding it in Chelmsford.
Chelmsford again.
Okay. Yes, Chelmsford again.
Okay.
I think you want it, although we're live on YouTube, but not live at the council meeting. So again, tomorrow morning at 8.
Tomorrow 8 a.m. it opens. I'd suggest sign up quickly because the slots fill up very fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? All right. Close public session. And now we'll go on to reports and presentations of the superintendent and staff.
Sure. At this time, Mr. Ernie Wells, principal at the Linscott Rumford, is going to retire this year.
Maybe.
And just as a introduction, the Linscott Rumford was number 32 in the Commonwealth this year, right, Ernie?
Well, it wasn't this year. It was actually the numbers from like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't want to take credit for it now.
Recognize this year.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So, anyway, Mr. Wells.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me. Matt suggested I come, and I was saying, what do I want to do? And I want to thank my staff for us. So I just kind of want to take a moment to thank my staff. Well, I would like to take the opportunity. I've had an opportunity to work for Woburn for 25 years. I worked at the Joyce for 9, at the Hurl for 2. I taught back in '79 for a year, and then I got Prop 2.5. I lost my job, so I was in the business world for until I was 40, and I decided I want to come back. Best decision I ever made. I am lucky that I had the camaraderie that I've had and the time that I've got to work with the children of Woburn. The administration has been very understanding of me over the years, which has been great. The group of principals that you have working for you are amazing. They're wonderful, they're intelligent, they're caring, and they cooperatively work with each other all the time, and that makes us all better. And I know all the other principals would say the same thing. During my 14 years as principal, it's the greatest job I've ever had, being the principal of the Linscott Rumford Elementary School. And just as a note, I went there as a kid. So when people would say it's not your school, I would say yes, it is. So, and I said it more than one time too. And every other principal would say the same thing. My entire staff works in such great harmony. They know all the children. They understand their needs. They do what they can assist, dealing with their academics, their social needs, and their emotional issues as well. It goes as far as the crossing guard, the bus driver, the lunch monitors, the kitchen staff, and the custodians are all part of the foundation of the Linscott. The parents are a vital part of the community, and it shows with the good communication with the teachers, strong participation at the PTO, and through our fundraising efforts this year, we gave 4 $500 scholarships this year. It was the most we've ever given for 4 of the highest end kids that you would ever see at Woburn High, Woburn Memorial High. I was there when it was Woburn High, so it's hard for me to change to say Memorial High. This year, our school council had our yearly community cookout with over 400 served. It was incredible. During the past 2 weeks, we have had many activities, and we have field day coming in for Roller Field. And PTO, they asked me what I wanted to do. What was my final thing I'd like to do? And I said I wanted to do a T-shirt. And we've never given T-shirts out at field day because I'm cheap and I'm very careful about how we spend.
You like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm very careful how we spend our money, and I'm not a big fundraising guy. I think we fundraise once and that's it. But one of my sayings that I've always said, right, and we do to the end is, at the Linscott we finish strong right to the end. So
Nice.
and
Is that yours?
I can only hope.
Talk about fundraising.
I haven't
I must put that shirt on right now.
It's not happening. Finally, I would like to thank my school secretary, and it's funny, we want to be called administrative assistants. Well, my secretary she was very happy with the word secretary, and I always say, well, secretary is a very important position. I want to thank her for her patience and her support over the 14 years she's been with me. Sometimes I think I'm easy to get along with, but I'm not sure she would say that all the time. And she's been in Woburn for 20 years as a secretary at the Linscott. I also don't want to forget Mrs. Linda Shannon. She's our kindergarten para. She is incredible. Our kindergarten kid, she's been para for 20 years. She is so impressive. We're going to miss her. We were lucky enough to have her as a grant for a full-time para. So she split half her time with one teacher and half the time another. And I know we're not going to get to do that this year or in the coming years, but it'd be nice if we could keep her. But it's not going to happen. She's excited about retiring as well. Also, I want to thank you all for that. Thank you for having me here. The last thing, and I know you're in the process of doing your negotiations with the teachers. I guess and I've thought am I stepping out of bounds here or not? But I was, before I was in education, I was in the business world, and I was always told when you negotiate, both sides have to be happy with the negotiation at the end. No one wants to say, I'm a winner. No, we're happy with it. Both sides are happy. So what I ask is both sides, you work together to make it good for both sides. And I don't want to see any work to a rule. And I hate all that stuff. And the teachers hate it. They don't like doing it either. So let's see if we can make it work and have a good talk and discussion on the contract. And again, last thing, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of those pictures of you doing crazy stunts over the years will live on in memory. I think the fire department had to come a couple of times there, Mike, to help out. And
No comment, Mr. Wells.
Yeah, I've done a couple of nutty things. I admit it. They wanted me to do one more last crazy thing, but that's not happening.
yeah.
So no, it's all. I'm done. I'm retired.
Yeah.
Well, the one time I got taped to the wall.
Right.
I passed out and I went home. My wife said, "Are you nuts?" So I told her I wouldn't do that ever again. So.
Just big? No.
Wayne.
Just a big.
Well, that's Wayne.
You did something else, though.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah, we don't have to.
I've done some dances. I've done some really crazy things. I've been silly stringed. I've been dumped ice cream on. That's some things I don't want to admit to. You know? All right, so again, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bernie, I just wanted to say that with Linda Shannon, she had 40 years in that building from when her kids started until she started working when they were on their own.
Yeah.
So I don't know if somebody's going to learn how to do that mimeograph machine before she leaves, but she's the only one that could get that thing up and running.
Well,
and get it breathing.
luckily we don't have a mimeograph machine anymore.
Yeah, but she could fix any machine in that building. And
the machine, we're going to put her name on the laminate machine. We're going to get a little gold plaque with her name on it. So I just asked her to fix for me today when I did something. So yes. Like I said, the staff there is amazing, and like I said, I know every other principal would say the same thing about their staff, and I would agree with them totally. But my staff is just the most caring group of people that I've ever had to work with, and I've been very lucky.
Is the PAL still up and running?
Well, since COVID, we haven't.
Yeah,
There's a sign up still that we've done, but a lot of things that we've done, we've had to hold off for COVID. So
well, hopefully that'll get
It'll
better.
get
Maybe
back.
she'll come back and help run that.
I don't think she will. But I'm going to share all this new information with the new principal. Matter of fact, Judy Mary, the new principal, is coming tomorrow.
Okay.
We have our spring show, and she's going to come and watch it.
Yeah.
And I'll share all the good stuff we do with her.
Yeah,
So
that
I'll
was-
make sure we don't skip a beat.
Good.
All right.
Enjoy your well-earned retirement.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. All
Stay
right.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay wells.
thought of it. You had to say it.
All right. Next up, summer program.
The summer programming update, it's going to look and sound a lot like pre-COVID. Ms. Young can describe what that means. In other words, it's different than last summer. So, Ms. Young?
Sure. So in terms of what we have happening in the schools and around opportunities, we not only support programming within our schools, but also what is happening in the community, and we work actively to support families who are seeking those opportunities and kind of connecting them. We have the SALT program continuing this summer. That's out of the Malcolm White. That's a year-long program, but it will be specifically again this summer. We have our EL summer programming, or ML summer programming, and that is targeting students in 4th grade through, I believe, 10th grade. And those, we have 3 different teachers, and that will be happening for the month of July. We have our credit recovery back at the high school again, which we had last summer, and that used to be by Mr. Martin, and he has stepped away from that this summer, and Ms. Conley will be taking over it. We have, of course, our special education program happening at the Shamrock as well as at the high school. And we also have the Power Scholars, which is run by the YMCA, but is happening at the Reeves Elementary School. One of our high school teachers, Mr. Walsh, he runs that program in conjunction with the YMCA. And then, of course, we work to the Boys and Girls Club and the Recreational Department, as well as the summer program at the Y.
Yeah. Any questions? Do you have an idea how many students you want to help during the summer?
How many students are in all of these programs?
Or, what is the goal? Yeah, how many students, you can break it down however you want, but just how many students you're going to try to outreach to get?
Sure. I can say for all of the programs that we are running, they are very full.
Okay.
That's, and I think that what we have gone to Dr. Crowley's point of kind of pre-COVID is really targeted to certain groups. And so because we have connections, those staff who are working them have the connection with the students that we're working with, we really try to kind of get them set up before they leave.
Okay. So it's just for clarification for people listening, they've been pre-selected, the students, so.
Well, it depends on the programming.
Okay.
So some of them, for example, the SALT program is just for students at the Malcolm White, or ML programs, credit recovery, special education. The Power Scholars is open to anyone who would like to attend in elementary schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Crowley?
Ms. Young, is ML programming required, like in the same sense that ESY is for special ed?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just a voluntary thing that the district is taking on the initiative?
Yes. So there, our ML coordinator, Ms. Johnson, she looks into, first she kind of sees the number of students who would be interested, and then she works with their staff, and that started again pre-pandemic, and we picked it up again. Well, we had it through last summer and then picked it up again this summer.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Lipset?
How are we doing on staffing for the summer program?
It's always hard. I will say that we've been fortunate by starting the hiring process early. For example, we had a school psychologist who we hired, who then asked if she could work the summer program, or we asked them when they come in, are you sure you don't want to start early? But I think we're always looking for staff, especially in our ESY program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mulrennan?
Thank you. Ms. Young, so last summer during COVID and all the programming we did, it was also lunches provided. Is that still going to be the case this summer for the students as well?
Yes, Mr. O'Connor can probably speak to that more.
Yes, lunches at the Malcolm White and the SALT program will be provided to the students free of charge.
Great, it's good to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so we look forward to hearing the outcome of it sometime in the fall. Thank you. Okay, next up.
Next up, we'll stay with Ms. Young. The 2022-23 school calendar.
Hot off the presses, you
Hot off
missed
the
it.
press.
Oh, yeah. You notice that it's no longer in color. That's amazing.
This is the 8 o'clock version.
Yeah. So, well, no, I think I appreciate the effort that goes into it, because we're trying to get it right. So I think the first day for teachers is Tuesday, September 6th, and the first day for students will be Thursday, September 8th, 2022. And so that's really probably the most important thing that people need to know. when the half-days and vacation times are may not be quite as relevant, but as it relates to tonight's conversation, we will share this with all schools tomorrow, once approved, so that it can be then sent home to families.
Good.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Let's hope for no snow, it'll be pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Alcott. He got us one extra day off.
I did.
We missed the Monday after New Year's to be observed. That was fun.
Yeah, I was
Made
gonna
a
say-
little shift.
On the bright side, you got an extra day off in January.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it can snow that day, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next up, end of year sort of update, Mr. Alcanada, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, to just round out 2022, FY22.
Thank you, Dr. Crowley. I have all good news. As you know, over the past 2 years, we have implemented a lot of financial efficiencies that are beginning to yield their benefit. Additionally, in our budgeting processes, we have truly budgeted for line items for amounts that are needed. That plus a combination of some other factors this fiscal year. Again, we had COVID, and not everything that we projected in spending occurred. We are going to end with a little bit of a, I won't call it surplus, but some money left over that we didn't think that we were going to have. So we're going to repurpose that. We have talked with the mayor and the auditor about our plans, and we are going to repurpose some of these monies, and we're going to enhance our security across the district. We're able to purchase more PPE stock. I was hoping never to say PPE again, but over the course of the last year plus, some of our stock has dwindled. So in the event there is a surge in the fall in September, we'll have more than enough. Some of the other things that we're going to do is we were able to purchase increased technology infrastructure related to IT. Our server rooms that have thousands of dollars of servers and other equipment, they can get very warm in the summer, and the cooling systems have begun to fail there. We have tried to replace those cooling systems piecemeal. We'll be able to do all of them and get new split-end units for those server rooms. So some of the monies that we aren't going to spend on their initial expenditures, as I said, we're repurposing and reinvesting back into the school system. We will most likely still end with a mid-six figure, and our intent, our hope, is to engage City Hall with that to see if we can move some of that money into sped stabilization, which was created last year, as you know. Once again, we're through our financial efficiencies, through our true to expenditure budgeting, we end with these surpluses, if you will. We can repurpose, and we can create larger insurance policies for us in case out-of-district tuition were to get out of hand in future years. Not only that, we might be able to take some of that money and set it aside for future capital projects that are yet unidentified. So I like to think that this is all good news, and rather have this discussion than the opposite, in that we're not going to make it to June 30th and we need more money. So it's a quick update.
Mr. Lipset.
Was there any discussion in using any of these fundings for staff bonuses or anything for staff, given the sort of extreme measures that had to be gone through this year?
No, there hasn't been any discussion on our side for that.
Can I ask why not?
Well, if I could just step in, I just want to step
yeah, I
in here.
understand.
There's negotiations that are ongoing, and I think that would fall under the negotiations, because...
That's why I use the word bonuses.
Yeah, right. But I think there was some discussion, and I don't think necessarily it'd be good to have it in public.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to cut that off,
Yeah.
but just that, any salary, any money going to staff really is falling under negotiations, so.
Fair enough.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Morenin?
Bob, you mentioned a couple of infrastructure things. Obviously, you get together with Mr. Duncan. Does he have any priority things now that you've found a few extra bucks for him?
Mr. Dunkley always has things. For instance, I mentioned the split end units. That has been an IT and facilities collaborative effort to get that squared away. The security enhancements, if you will, Mr. Dunkley has been involved in that. So yes, obviously he's been at the table, and we've been able to knock off some of the projects that he has scheduled for years in the future. We're able to accelerate some of those projects.
Obviously over the recent, we just did the remodeling over here at the Joyce. Is there building concerns that you might be thinking of making a classroom or moving people around or making more rooms or buildings like we did here?
I don't think that,
much okay?
no, there's no major renovation projects of that nature on our plans for these monies.
Sounds good, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't know if it's coming out of finance, but just to clarify for the public, your efficiencies were great, but I think there were some other factors that may have influenced why we have money. And I just don't, because we do have a set budget, and Ms. Chisholm will probably talk about it, but a lot of it, much of it had to do with the fact that hiring staff this year was difficult, as everybody knows. So there were a lot of positions that we had funded, hoped to fund. We added some more things during the year, but we just weren't able to fill them. And then also the state paid, had the National Guard doing some transportation that saved us in special ed. We did have to pay the National Guard, but the rate was lower. And then also there was some out-of-district savings and stuff like that. So just the goal is to fully fund all our positions every year, but this year, due to COVID and the economy, that didn't happen. So just so the public's aware about it. Ms. Chisholm can talk about it a little bit more, but I just wanted.
Pretty much done.
Sorry, but I just didn't want them to walk,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. And no other questions from Mr. Alcanada. Next up is the superintendent's evaluation. For the public, just to know, the superintendent provided the committee members with material that documented his progress on his goals over the past year. The committee, as individuals, evaluated that documentation, filled out separate evaluations, and I will give the overall evaluation summary, and then I'll go to the members and they can talk about their individual evaluations and any comments they'd like to have. So overall, the overall rating for the superintendent was 3, let me get the correct wording, sorry, exemplary, and then 4 proficient. That represents the overall rating. The superintendent was also rated on standards, instructional leadership, management operations, community engagement, professional culture, district goals, professional practices, and student learning. And those ones ran the gamut from some members thought there was need improvement in some of those, but most things were proficient or exemplary. And so I'll now turn to the individual members, and if you'd like to talk about any particular aspect of your rating, just so the public knows, these documents are public records. They will be stored in the administrative office once we're done with that. So I'll start. Crowley.
Yeah, so the way that I went about doing this evaluation, I do it in a very meticulous manner. I first take all of the information that I personally observed from the superintendent as being chair. I was lucky enough to see the superintendent work very closely with him. And then once I sort of pierced through my personal observations, I then moved to the superintendent's evidence. And in that regard, I came up with instructional leadership for proficient, and I pointed to the content specialists, because I consider proficient to be doing a really good job. The content specialists, the 6th grade wind block, I thought was a huge win for the district and for the kids in 6th grade. Creating scheduling for common planning and really allowing teachers to collaborate was really up there. And this connection block was, and I'm looking at Courtney because I know, those things just really, those things were in the exemplary category for me, quite frankly, but I came down as proficient. In the area of management operations, I went for exemplary. I felt that the feasibility study and getting that together and looking at our buildings, our aging buildings, is a primary concern for our constituents. What are we doing with the Wyman? What about the Alta Vesta? Even at the city council meeting, that was a common question. And just having that feasibility study teed up for that discussion, I felt was really taking some great leadership. Prioritizing the positions in the budget and the whole budget process itself, I thought was highly professional. I was really blown away by it. I could tell that the city council, when looking at the administration central office, was really impressed. The fact that we have a surplus and we're putting it into special ed and security. And I have to say that as soon as what happened in Texas, as awful as it was, within days the superintendent had convened a meeting of several stakeholders to say, how is Woburn? Make sure Woburn is safe. So I found this to be exemplary, and I wanted to make sure I gave public recognition for that. I participated in a roundtable discussing growth in Woburn in November of 2021. And I thought that was, again, we're thinking about these major issues in Woburn. And I'm just really proud of the superintendent. Everything else for me was proficient. Professional culture was proficient. The banner project in Woburn Center brought together the community, getting the $300,000 from Senator Friedman to target children in medical services to get them into school. And just seeing the superintendent in leadership meetings and the collaborative spirit that he brings forth to the school system, I think is great. And I think he always puts children first and will make decisions. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kissel.
My comments are pretty basic. I did based on the current and recent past environment due to COVID and other situations in the past year and a half or so. The superintendent is doing a great job, as is our teaching staff and families that are stepping up and getting a little more involved, it seems. He works together and communicates very well, which that's huge to me. In the past, we've had some issues with things we might not have known about, and then the constituents are reaching out to us, asking us. I've noticed that probably in the last year at least, a lot more communications, a lot more emails, things like that to kind of keep us up to date. So communicates very well with the school committee staff and, again, the families with the emails that we get ahead of time saying this is what I'm about to send out, and then it goes out. And then I think obviously with the website and updates to that, I think that's huge. And that to me is one of the reasons I gave him exemplary on all of my items. And that's how you get things done and done right. So I think he's doing a great job. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay.
Ms. Chisholm?
Superintendent Dr. Crowley has led us once again through a year that most of us will be very happy to see come to an end in just a few short weeks. To say that there have been some unprecedented events that took place this year is an understatement. Have we struggled with some of these? Yes. Has there been some disappointments? Yes. But he has spent many hours here and even while at home working to keep our schools safely running and communicating with parents in many different forms. I have some comments that I would like to see some improvement. Standard 1, evaluations in individual contracts. Going forward, I'd like to see these completed on time. Evaluations on coaches and stipended positions should be added if possible. On the management and operations, updating our policy on supervision in our locker rooms, gyms, auditorium, and classrooms, anywhere where our students should gather. In fiscal, with multiple grants, federal monies, unprecedented amounts received in the last 2 years, these balances need to be monitored to ensure that these monies are used in their entirety. And this can be a project for the Finance Committee with the administration to make sure that we keep everybody abreast so that we can spend. Community engagement, work that was done through COVID to ensure that our families were informed, the links that were added so families could know about the COVID status. Additionally, the text, emails, phone calls on snow days was outstanding. The events that Dr. Crowley attended, not only in our schools, but across the city, is outstanding also. On the professional culture, adding the collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA to add additional educational, emotional, and social support to our students is awesome and should continue. And I gave exemplary.
Anyone else? Mr. Lipset.
So I'll just mention what my ratings were on the standards, and then I have a short statement. So on Standard 1, Instructional Leadership, I rated Superintendent exemplary. On Standard 2, Management and Operations, proficient. Standard 3, Family and Community Engagement, proficient. And on Standard 4, Professional Culture, needs improvement. On the district goals, proficient. Professional practice goal, proficient. And student learning goal, exemplary. And this has been, as many people have noted, an intensely challenging school year. And its end offers opportunities to reflect both on the successes and on areas where the district and the superintendent can improve. And there have been many successes. The district's community partnerships have continued to deepen in ways that have supported our students in learning, as have our programs. Support programs in reading at the elementary and middle school levels, most notably the expansion of the WIN block, have clearly demonstrated a commitment to personalized student growth. In particular, I also want to highlight his management, Dr. Crowley's management of a difficult budget process. Despite unexpected limitations, Dr. Crowley and his staff were able to deliver a budget that puts student needs first and foremost by prioritizing student-facing staffs and supports. And this, I feel, has been a strength of this administration during my time on this committee. Going into the 2022-2023 school year, Dr. Crowley, I think, should continue to improve his management of and transparency in budgeting, staffing, leadership, and other operational areas. While the past 2 years have offered unexpected and massive challenges in these areas, the district must learn from and respond to them where it has fallen short. There's work to be done by our administration and staff in recovering from burnout, external stresses, conflict. And I look forward to a more cohesive public communication strategy from Dr. Crowley that both engages with and solicits input from our families, students, and stakeholders. We must also ensure that we're doing all we can to lift up students and families, especially those who are vulnerable or historically marginalized, so that they can all share in the knowledge that our schools celebrate and respect them. Overall, I continue to be grateful for Dr. Crowley's leadership and for his focus on equity and excellence in the Woburn Public Schools. Our district is better, our students are better served because of his work.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mulrennan?
I'll try to be quick. Obviously, everybody stole all of my comments, but the first comment I want to mention is the fact that, anybody watching at home, Dr. Crowley put together a great evaluation format, so we all knew as members, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, that it was evidence-based, it was in there, even put a little 2-minute video on there for us to walk us through this. Again, all the accolades of the, not just Dr. Crowley, he's going to sit here tonight and say it took, many, many people to make those things happen, but the instructions we received were outstanding, both in the video format as well as the paper form that we were presented to present his evaluation to us this evening. Overall, I think, again, like some of my colleagues on the board, I'm sticking with proficient, exemplary, because in my bottom notes here, we were allowed to put some comments in here. Overall, coming out of COVID, Woburn Public Schools were awesome. We're going to reflect back. We heard Mr. Doc and I didn't want to use PPE or PP anything tonight. We want to go past that, which we are doing. And proficient ratings only shows that there's moving forward. Without the COVID behind us, there's always going to be room for improvement in different categories. With that said, we'll start with the standards. Standard 1 in leadership, I scored exemplary. Standard 2 in management and operations, proficient. Standard 3, family and community engagement, proficient. Standard 4, professional culture, exemplary. And the district goals, on the goals, district goals, exemplary. Professional practice, proficient. Student learning, exemplary. And my overall rating of Dr. Crowley for the current evaluation was proficient. And again, a lot of my colleagues have mentioned a lot of the things, but I think my point is, COVID's behind us. We can work on, some of the stuff that kind of fell through the cracks during COVID, get a little strong in those areas and bump them up so we can get exemplary across the board for our next evaluation. But I want to thank Dr. Crowley again for the format of the presentation that's presented to us, and look forward to another year.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cormier?
Yes, thank you. Hello. Thank you, everyone. The DESE Superintendent Evaluation rubric said this year, empowering others is the highest form of leadership. And that's an area that I'd actually like to see more focus on in the coming year. I want to be sure that everyone in the district feels like they're a part of this team that Dr. Crowley talks about all the time, this unified approach. I want to make sure that each staff feels respected, valued, supported, and appreciated. I'd like to see more focus on this candid, honest communication, getting the work done for the benefit of our students. Preparing for this evaluation, I asked the superintendent what his vision for the district is, and he said, quote, to make the Woburn Public Schools the best district in the world. And I think that's how we get there, is through this team approach and continuing to foster that. And of course, as a committee, we also need to support and empower you, so that I hope that in going into this new school year, that you're going to lean on us when needed, and remember that we're all part of this great team striving for the best for all the students of Woburn. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then I'll go. Yeah, when you're at the chair, you see things in a different light sometimes. I'm always reminded, I tend to ask a lot of questions, maybe be a little harder, but when you're at the chair, you kind of see, what's happening under the current, so to speak. This year has been difficult, and, what I'd like to say is that, sometimes I think we're harder on ourselves than others looking from outside the district, because there's a lot of great things that go on in Woburn. And one of the things I always like to look at is the things that didn't happen. And, over this past year with COVID coming back, masking and so forth, the superintendent was able to walk that line so that we didn't have teachers worried about coming to school. We didn't have parents up in arms. He calmed the waters, so to speak, and that speaks eminently about his ability to listen to people and to respond as best he can to the situation that he was thrown into. The other thing that struck me is that for a number of years, been a school committee member, in a number of years, I think we've seen leadership that was okay with the status quo. It might be good, but the status quo, gives you a sense of calmness, but it doesn't necessarily make things better. And I saw this year the superintendent saying, the status quo isn't good enough, I'm going to make a change. And that change always causes disruption. But change is how we get things better. And commenting on Ms. Comia's quote about what his vision, in order to make the school system the best in the world, you have to have change. And when you do change, it causes discomfort. But in the end, if the superintendent's going towards his vision, we'll evaluate that as we go forward. But I think if that's his vision, and that's the only way he can do it, then sometimes we're going to have rough waters. But as long as he's listening and following that guidance of his goal, then I think we'll be better for it in the end. Thank you. All right, so as I said, we'll collect these. Ms. McLeod will keep them as records. And then if you could just make a copy so the superintendent can, look at other comments and so forth. And members, feel free, I know members had a chance to talk to the superintendent, but if you have more comments or something you want to talk to him, feel free to reach out to him. Okay. So on behalf of the committee, I want to thank you for this year, getting us through, and doing your job in a way that ranked from proficient to exemplary. And I think that speaks highly of you and your staff. So congratulations.
Just very briefly, thank you. On a personal and professional note, it's been the most challenging year of my 25-plus years in public education. And managing a pandemic and managing a school system. And Mr. Moreno used to joke about the superintendent handbook about how to handle different situations. There isn't one. And
There will be one.
We do it day by day is sort of the best we can do. And try to prioritize kids at the heart of the decision making. And so I do say it. I'm not successful by myself. I have a great team here in the room, great principals, Mr. Wells alluded to. He also alluded to the teachers, and the teachers do great things every day. The paras do great things. The nurses do great things. So I'm very fortunate to work in a school system like Woburn, where people care so deeply about each other. And so, like I said, it has not been an easy year. Driving to pick up test kits on New Year's Day as an example of the kind of things that we went through. It's been a challenge, but we did it, and so thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I have great family support too, because a lot of long nights and early mornings. So anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, good. All right. Next up, the MASC Conference Delegate vote. As you all know, we have we usually vote to have a representative represent us at the conference on the Cape in November. I think registration is opening soon. If it hasn't opened already, I think we got emails about that, and there's a discount, and I think usually they work with Ms. Cloud or someone in your office. I can't remember who. Yeah. So if members are interested and they want to save the district a little bit of money, they can register ahead of time. And I think, Mr. Lipset, you were interested in being a delegate?
Yeah, and I served in that role last year, and thank you for your trust in me to do so last year. And I would love the opportunity to go back and represent the district as our delegate. I think it's a valuable experience. I think it's making connections with other school committee members. Dr. Crowley and I sat in on a great presentation about use of community centers to support students. It's things like that we can take from other districts and bring back. So I would very much welcome the opportunity to return with the committee's blessing.
Okay. Is there any other member that's interested in being a delegate? If not, have a motion to approve Mr. Lipset as a delegate?
I'll appoint Mr. Lipset. No, I'll make
Your point.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Lipset as the delegate.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and thank you also to Mr. Kissel, who has served in that role for many, many years and will, of course, be there as well.
And we look forward to getting our.
Absolutely.
We look forward to getting the book with all the resolutions, and we'll have a discussion about that in the fall. To give you guidance. Okay, that's taken care of. Good. Next, subcommittee reports. The Finance Subcommittee, Ms. Chisholm.
Okay. Yeah, I did meet, but it's been pretty much discussed already. But anyway, on June 13th at 9 o'clock here at the Joyce Middle School Conference Room, in attendance was Superintendent Dr. Matt Crowley, Assistant Superintendent Bob Alcanada, Patty McKinnon, school committee members Chris Kissel, myself, and Colleen Cormier by phone. The topics we had warrants, our bills that we paid. Warrant 1 was for $1,097,834.39. Warrant 2 was for $222. Warrant 3 was for $97,478.80. Warrant 4 was for $1,217.25. And warrant 5 was for $81,427.98. We do send the questions to the administration prior. They were answered. And we found that those were all acceptable. The bills were approved by the subcommittee, voted 3-0 to forward to full committee for approval. And we would need a motion on that.
Okay.
Motion approved.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And on the balance of account was the same action, so we need to vote on that.
Motion approved.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and discussion on whether or not we needed to continue the Zoom meetings that charges us in the subcommittee. Made a motion to end this at the end of June, and should the need arrive, we can always reinstate it. And the end of the year balance had a surplus, and the expenditures coming from this was discussed. Superintendent Crowley and Assistant Superintendent Alcanada met with the mayor on Friday to discuss this, and he was in agreement with the projects that they had planned on prior to June 30th, 2022. We will, however, be turning back to the city approximately $600K. The mayor was asked by admin if this could be added to the stabilization account, and he looked unfavorably, and we hope that stays that way. The reason for the surplus was additional fundings from the federal grants. Sped transportation was down, in part because of less trips, and that the National Guard helped us out with driving the vans. At a time we were not fully staffed due to the shortage of personnel available, not to efforts that we made. Some expenditures that will be coming from the surplus includes the PPE stock, which we talked about, the doors, we talked about the fire panel at the Malcolm White that was scheduled to be done next year, can be completed sooner. Some positions will come out of the ESSA grant, be paid for in this budget. The cooling system at the headroom is failing, and that will be updated. And there was money from a nurse grant that will go to salaries, freeing up some money for next year. We also talked about Jack Murray, who is our driver ed instructor, has not had an increase since 2016, and we voted 3-0 to increase his salary beginning July 1st to $45 an hour. And I don't know if we need a full vote on that, or if that's just because it's going to be in the budget. so I don't know if we actually need to vote on the expenditure.
If I may, he's actually not in the budget.
Right. It's a revolving account.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And
So
so just for clarification on that, obviously, that would be the kind of salary that the fees should pay the salary, you know.
It does.
Yeah,
It
that's,
does,
I think,
because
yeah.
the students are charged $780, and he runs 2 sessions, approximately 25 students each.
Yeah.
So there's usually surplus. at the end of
Just,
it.
I just wanted to clarify that, because it shouldn't be a losing proposition.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not. It's not.
Yeah.
And there were 2 journal entries, salaries for grant to our budget for $726,940.20, and the second was for salaries in ESSA to a budget for $5,000. And we need a motion on that. For journal entries, correct?
Well, we need a motion on the salary increase
For
for the driver's ed.
January.
Yeah.
Start with that. So
Yeah.
I make a motion, we increase the driver's ed salary by $5 per hour. That's what it.
There's a second there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And then we do need a approval to meet, we're going to be meeting on July 13th and August 10th, if anybody would like to join us, to pay the bills so we can keep the lights on.
So I need a motion to authorize the Finance Subcommittee to authorize the payment of the bills, since we won't be meeting until the fall. Well,
Yeah.
we're not scheduled to meet until the fall,
Right.
as a full committee, so.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
And the meeting adjourned at 9:40.
Okay.
We need to do a vote on the balance of accounts?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is one thing, it's sort of come up a little bit about when bills can be paid, and if we could, I don't know if your association, Mr. Alcanada, because there was some discussion, I think, on the school committee thread about how finance subcommittees were paying bills and whether they were bills were being paid prior to the school committee approval, and then if we could just get clarification, we may even have to get legal clarification on, does the school committee have to authorize the payment before the bills are paid? I know we've talked about it, but I do know there was a thread on the school committee.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, Pat, you brought that up.
yeah, we saw it on the thing.
Yeah.
So I just want to make
I know
sure
this,
we're doing everything,
We'll look into it. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do a deep dive and do some research and
Yeah.
see if there's an alternative way to pay.
Or if
bills.
there's something we need to alter, or maybe we're doing it fine, but just so
I
we're.
think you are.
Yeah.
But we'll look into it anyway,
Right.
just to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did talk to, not Mike,
Mike
who's
Gilbert.
that?
No, Glenn Kuchar?
Yeah, and he said that we were okay, that the way
Oh.
we're doing, as long as they are reviewed and they are.
Okay, then
Otherwise
we don't have to,
it's tedious.
then you don't have to do anything, Mr.
Awesome.
Alcanada.
Yeah.
Great.
Nice job.
Yeah. Enjoy your summer.
Yeah, no, he said that we're, as long as we.
I didn't know you had looked into it,
Yeah.
Mr. Chisholm.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know we had talked about.
City Hall reviews them too.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
like double, yeah.
Right, but it was really, what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Paid.
Apparently somebody actually goes through every single invoice on the school committee in some towns.
Yeah.
and reviews it.
Okay. All right, that's great. Communications Subcommittee.
We have not met.
Okay.
I anticipate
Okay.
we might get some.
Okay.
Did you want us to take up anything from the public
I-
comment today? or-
Yeah, I'd like you to. I'd like to take this opportunity, to ask the superintendent to consider, I know this is on public TV, so there'll be a copy of it somewhere, and it'd be really good if all the staff could see that, if not the administration and principals and so forth, to see sort of what students feel about the situation. I think we talk a lot about abstract, things and so forth, and actually seeing students and how they feel and what they're feeling, I think, may help reinforce the policies and procedures that we're trying to do in a real-world situation. Okay.
Maybe the administration can just keep us updated on, because it seems like Mr. Martin is working on some things,
Yeah.
and maybe it should be left to administration. I don't know.
I'm going to leave it, I just think seeing a real-world, students reacting to something, because we talk a lot about, that's what we do. We do policy, but to actually see, students, when policies aren't being followed, because obviously that's not our way we want things to happen, what it looks like. Sure. Yeah.
Of course.
And,
Yeah, I mean, I think, the administration is following up, and it sounds like Mr. Martin has
Yeah.
plans in the works to address a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
Something we can stay advised on.
Maybe we could just be informed about restorative justice. That
Yeah.
seems like a big topic.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
it was
Yeah,
an
we,
instant
like,
connection.
I mean,
Yeah.
genuinely, the timing was
was
perfect.
awesome.
So.
It sounds like maybe a great topic for a joint SSA communication subcommittee.
Right.
So,
Which we're all.
which we're in the same time.
So there we go.
Every time you meet, you could have.
We'll just, we'll bump
Yeah,
up
we-
who's in the chair or whatever.
But
That's a great
anyway.
idea.
Okay. All right, thank you. Curriculum and Data Trends Subcommittee.
We have not met, although we did hear from Ms. Young about the upcoming summer programs, which sound very interesting. But if I could just go back for a second to Ms. Chisholm's finance report, and since we heard from our counselor that council rep, that we had no cuts to our school budget last night, I would make a motion that the chairperson write a letter on behalf thanking the city council for not entertaining any cuts to our budget this season.
Email will suffice?
Email will suffice.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
you.
Second.
Yeah. All
We
those-
did- was that a motion?
Yeah, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Personnel Subcommittee.
We have not met.
Okay.
She's kidding.
Yeah.
Please come.
I think there may be some meeting over the summer. The superintendent might,
Yeah, we probably have to have
yeah,
a schedule.
yeah. Okay. Good. Resource and Capital Planning Subcommittee.
We did meet, June 2nd, 22, of course, 10:04 start, attending with myself, David Dunkley, Dr. Matt Crowley, Bob Alcanada, Pauline Comier, and Ellen Crowley. Talk was of the feasibility study. Bob Alcanada indicated that the RFP will be posted soon, which is a while ago. I'm assuming it's been posted?
It's in the hands of the procurement agent. It might be even posted as we speak.
Okay. And it'll be out there a minimum of 2 weeks, but could be up to 3 weeks. He's working with Orazio DeLuca to get that ready. Any update? That's the update.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote, any update, just so. David Dunkley asked if there were things they wanted to add due to a lower bid cost, could we add those items back in? And Bob indicated that it would have to be rebid, so question came up, so I indicated. Safety issues were addressed during an unannounced citywide check of our buildings, as is standard practice, but more so due to the recent events at schools and other places around the country. The administration, Dave Dunkley, Chief Rufo, and the city side will collaborate to improve the overall safety of the schools. Some capital improvements may be implemented. School playgrounds are looked at once a year and on a need-to basis. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Dave Dunkley is keeping up on this. Principals can have issues addressed earlier than the once-a-year check, and fixes will be done. The white school slides will be fixed soon, or they are fixed or in the process. So that was one of the issues that brought this up. The in-honor bench at the Linscott is being looked at, or had been looked at by Dave Duncan and the PTO, and is in progress on positioning and so on and so forth. So that sounds like it might happen before the end of the school year. Practice field lights will be looked at soon. The committee has approved $200,000 for the whole job. Bob Alcanada wants to get the installation portion cost figured out before we purchase the $145,000 lights. That would leave the balance of $55,000 for installation and any extras, including a remote use system for about $9,000. Chris Kissel asked if there was a yearly monthly fee for the remote service. Bob was going to look into it. It's getting late.
You have to get your name in there.
That's right. The building department did indicate they wanted a light review analysis done to see if there would be any extraneous light that would affect neighbors, et cetera. This would probably be at a cost involved, so that with that analysis as well, so that will cut into the remaining $55,000. Bob A., is that all right? Will keep us up to date. We adjourned at 10:54.
All right.
Any questions for resource?
Just what is you mentioned an unannounced citywide visit of schools for security procedures. What does that look like exactly?
Well, I could tell. Well, I was at the meeting. So what it was essentially was the police department, under the direction of the chief, visited schools. They were in plain clothes, but they had police jacket on that said police, and they just walked around the perimeter and looked at doors open, windows, access points, and they identified doors that were open or windows that allowed access to the school.
Okay.
And then they provided a list to the administration.
Okay, so it wasn't like a sort of a surprise visit attempt to can we get in?
No, it was more just looking at the access points. They didn't, and that's why they wore their police jackets, so that nobody would be scared or things like that.
It also opens up the conversation to work with the school department with the city on beefing up any of the areas. We have, as in cameras seem to come up quite a bit, so there might be some capital expense on the city side that would be helpful to us.
And due to the security issue, I went light on the wording.
Yeah.
So
Why aren't you using the phone that Ms. McLeod gave you?
we did. We ended up putting it
That's what I
into.
want to know. Yeah.
Needs
Of
improvement.
all the good things I did, that's the one thing you got to bring up.
Needs improvement.
Although we did have a good question going in a minute. Chris just asked a question.
All right. Any other questions for resource?
It's getting late, okay.
Okay, Student Services and Achievement Subcommittee.
We have not met, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We will be meeting jointly.
Okay. I should just let the committee know that I've been in correspondence with the CPAC, and I think we're going to have them in periodically over the next year, just to give us updates and so forth. So we look forward to them coming in September, and then probably in the winter and then in the spring, something like that. I think regular appearances. Okay. Correspondence. Does anybody have a need for a committee meeting, another meeting in June? No, nobody has any of their subcommittees have anything that they're going to be reporting out? Okay.
No.
So,
And on correspondence,
Yeah.
Obviously they came for public comment, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the email that I received from James Austin,
Yep.
Verona Austin, regarding issues at the high school.
right.
Upcoming events, I don't know if Kate was going to cover this or not, Mr. Chairman, celebration for Juneteenth.
Yep.
Saturday,
Mhm.
1 to 4 down at the Woburn Public Library. So it's the second annual. I think it's bigger and better than last year. Bigger program and a bigger format, so hopefully be a good turnout for that.
Okay. Anything else under correspondence or events? Future agenda items, feel free to send them to us. Otherwise, we'll see, we may have a meeting probably just before school starts. I think Superintendent indicated there might be a need for that, but we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll see you after school starts. So
See you in September.
everybody have a good summer. Yeah.
Except for the Finance Subcommittee.
And don't walk on the ice.
The hardest working
Thank
subcommittee.
you. So I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you. Thank you. All right.